For activity 3, the purpose is to observe changes in motor development from birth to 6.5 months, and then hypothesize various constraints, also what we'll refer to as rate limiters, that will affect infants' movements over the course of a year. So I've got some background information that you can feel free to read through. The main vocabulary or terminology that we're focusing on in this lab are rate limiters or controllers. So these are typically individual constraints that are limiting or controlling the rate of development in an individual. For activity 4.1, you will be using HKPropel. So log into your account and then you'll locate the assigned content for Chapter 4. This is what the HKPropel Chapter 4 content will look like. Choose Lab Activity 4.1 and then go ahead and click Next. Everything that you need to complete the activity you've already been provided with, so don't download any of the introduction instructions, lab questions, or record sheet provided in HKPropel. Once you click Next again, you'll be taken to the videos that you'll be watching for this week. There are only 3. Up in the top left-hand corner, you can see the age of Drew in each video. So this is the 1 month, we have 4 months, and then 6.5 months. So you can click play on any of these videos. Some of them are a little bit lengthier, but what you're trying to do in each of these is take detailed notes on how the infant is moving. Okay, so there are different clips of different movements that will be transitioned to throughout each video. So just note, like, what is he doing with his arms and legs? If we skip forward, like, what types of activities are they encouraging him to do? How is he performing them? How are his arms moving with respect to his right arm versus left arm, left leg versus right leg, that type of thing. Okay, so try to be as detailed as possible in your descriptions. You can toggle through each of these videos using this little arrow on the side. Once you're done with those, there will be a couple of questions given to you. They're just a drag and drop type question. So the first blank here has these blue or dark blue word options that can be dragged and dropped into boxes. Okay, and then the orange box has these 2 options as well. Okay, these will actually be in a question on your activity this week. So once you've dragged and dropped your responses, you click Submit. You'll also type them into your activity document. And then there's another question, same type of concept where you're dragging and dropping, Submit to check your answer. So this is pretty much it for the HKPropel portion. You'll copy and paste the questions for this lab activity into a new Word document, and that will be the document you submit to Dropbox. Please note that this is coming from Chapter 4, thus why it's called Lab Activity 4.1, but we're actually submitting it to the Activity 3 folder. Grading criteria can be found on Beachboard. I've posted the rubric in your Module 4 content, and the total activity is out of 30 points. The following textbook resources have been input into a table for convenience. These are the selected motor milestones that were noted by Bailey and Shirley. Now in lecture we had talked about how both of these individuals, their milestones didn't always line up perfectly. So we have like an example down here, like Bailey identified an infant being able to sit alone at about 6.5 months, whereas Shirley said 7 months. So As a part of your observation, you're going to note what movements you expect to observe before you watch the videos. And then when you watch the videos, you will put in what you actually observed the infant doing. So in this section, you don't have to create an exhaustive list, but you should have at least 3 movements or milestones that have been noted in each of these boxes. So when you're listing the movements you expect to observe, let's say if we're looking for movements at 1 month of age, you might use this age range column to kind of help you with different movements or milestones that should relatively be attained around 1 month. Obviously, you kind of want to stick around the average age area, but remember that development is an individual process, so there is some variability that can be expected from individual to individual. But as long as you're kind of getting the general movements that should be expected around 1 month, that is okay. Again, you're listing at least 3. Then you're listing what actual movements there are in the video. Again, try to be as detailed as possible in your descriptions. These first 2 questions are the 2 questions that are included in the HKPropel activity, so everybody should get these correct because the activity tells you if you're right or not. And then for questions 3 and 4, we are identifying the rate limiters based on your observations. So I would like you guys to list or try to come up with at least 3 rate limiters per age. Note that some of your rate limiters may be persistent from video to video. So if you use the same rate limiter in 1 month and 4 months, that is acceptable. Okay, as long as you describe why that particular factor is a rate limiter. So again, rate limiters are things that are going to constrain movement. They either permit or prevent things from happening. So identify what the rate limiter is and then describe how it is a rate limiter using at least one specific example from the videos. For number 6, you're kind of looking into the future. So for these 3 milestones, crawling, walking with support, and walking alone, I want you to come up with at least 1 rate limiter for each of those milestones, and then explain why you think that rate limiter would be influential for the attainment of each milestone. Once you have finished all of your questions, you'll submit your answer sheet to Dropbox. Again, you're using the naming convention of your last name, your first name, 315, and then the activity number. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email.